So now that your ACR is filled out, what's next? Please, ACRs based on the VPAT are long enough. Remove the instructions as part of creating your ACR, including the table of contents. This will eliminate 9 to 10 pages in the length of your finished report. You should already have earlier decided what file format to deliver your product ACR in and how customers will get them. That was covered in slide 12. It's very important, though, to test your ACR as well as the process for your customers to request and get them to make sure the whole process and the ACR are accessible. Now we'll switch gears and learn some tips for reading and evaluating ACRs. We've broken this down to 7 steps, which we'll cover over the next several slides. Step 1, determine the standard needed. Depending on what regulatory or policy objectives you need to meet for your procurement process, there may be different standards or WCAG versions that will need to be in your ACR. Do you need WCAG only? If so, what version? Or do you need to meet Section 508 or the EN 301-549? Remember, WCAG has versions and levels. Level AA is the most commonly required. WCAG is cumulative, which means that if it's requiring level AA, that means all the level A and AA criteria would need to be reported in your ACR. Some companies publish a conformance report per standard, and some report on all of them in a single report. Either method of reporting should be acceptable. Step 2, was the correct VPAT template used? Make sure that what you received in the ACR is the right addition to cover the standards your organization needs to adhere to. The WCAG edition only has WCAG criteria, and 508 has the 508 requirements, including WCAG 2.0 level AA. The EU edition covers the EN 301-549, which includes WCAG 2.1 level AA. The INT edition covered all of the VPAT covered standards and should be accepted in all situations instead of requiring a specific single standard edition. You might receive multiple editions if the company's policy is to publish single standard ACRs. You'll also need to ensure that the product VPAT is as current as the standards you require as possible. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. I'm fighting a little cold. While vendors are advised to move up to the latest version of the VPAT template, I'm sorry. While vendors are advised to move up to the latest version of a VPAT template, they may not be completely ready if a new standard was just released with a corresponding version of the VPAT. It may not, I'm sorry. It may not even be possible if a product was developed prior to a change in the standards. To understand when requirements have changed in the VPAT, we change the numeric value for the file name. For example, version 2.5 of the VPAT. When there's no changes to the requirements and there are simply updates to the instructions or formatting, REV is used in the file name. So requiring vendors to update to this VPAT version is not necessary. ITI maintains a change tracking file on our VPAT webpage, so you can understand what changes were made to each version. Steve, can you pick up from here?
No problem. Just to pick up from where Mary Jo left off, this table is derived from the change tracking file that she just mentioned, and it shows when each new VPAT version has been incorporated, or when they incorporated the 508 EU and INT editions. It demonstrates that even though the VPAT version might have changed, you don't necessarily need to ask for the latest VPAT if the criteria within it haven't changed for the standard of interest to you. As a quick example, the revised Section 508 requirements haven't changed since 2017, so any VPAT version 2.2 and later all have all of the relevant requirements for the 508, if that's the only thing that you're focusing on. Step 3, ensure the ACR is current. Often an ACR is scoped to a particular semantic version or versions of a product. If a product uses semantic versioning, make sure that the ACR that you're analyzing is reasonably close to the current version of the product, at least in terms of the major release number to the version of the product that you're looking to purchase. If this isn't the case, the ACR might not reflect the accessibility correctly for what you're analyzing for purchase. If semantic versioning is not used for your product, the date in the ACR can help you determine how representative it is of the current product. Consider the type of product it is when you're analyzing how old the ACR is. Hardware is updated less frequently, so the date might be a year or more old and it's still current. For web-based products, a year-old ACR is more likely to be out of date and not necessarily reflecting the current accessibility status of the product. If you think you need an updated ACR, you should be able to use the contact information to get help on obtaining a more current ACR. In some cases, the updated ACR might not be readily available, but you can just ask them when it might be. Step 4, determine how a product was tested. To find out about what accessibility testing was performed on the product, read through the evaluation methods used part of the ACR. The notes might also provide some testing information. Sometimes it might include the name of a third-party testing company that performed the testing, and it might also indicate whether the testers included people with disabilities. The ACR could also indicate what types of tests were performed: automated testing, manual testing, which could include tool-assisted testing, visual inspection, and manual operation. Comments might also include if the product was tested with one or more assistive technologies and what those assistive technologies were, and whether or not there was any user testing performed by persons with disabilities. If the testing information is incomplete, it should raise red flags. Automated testing does not fully cover accessibility with any tool. So if only automated testing is identified, the report is not likely to be an accurate reflection of the product's accessibility. Manual testing should include testing with using only a keyboard. There are some tools or test methodologies that help with manual testing, so any details about manual testing tools or approaches should give you more confidence in the conformance information in the ACR. There are a number of assistive technologies that can be tested with, including screen readers, screen magnifiers, voice recognition, switches, and so on. User testing by persons with disabilities, while it's not required, is also a relevant indicator that the results reported in the ACR are likely to be more accurate. Step 5, do you have all the ACRs that you need? Some products integrate multiple subproducts within individual ACRs for the different parts. This means you would need to gather all of the relevant ACRs to fully assess the accessibility of the overall product. If you have questions about which ACRs are relevant, contact the vendor for help. Step 6, know what criteria are required. Defects of any kind are common in all products, including accessibility defects. If you know the broad range of users that you'll have, it can help you key into the relevant criteria and potentially help you disqualify vendors that don't reach your preferred minimum level of accessibility. You can use the functional performance mappings to identify which users might be most impacted by the issues listed in the report. Step 7, reading the conformance tables. When you read conformance tables, the conformance level and remarks and explanations columns should help you determine what requirements are or are not fully supported by the product. When the remarks and explanations are well written, they should give you enough information to help you understand what the issues are and how they might impact users. What's next for the VPAT, and how can you stay informed of the changes? The VPAT's planning another update when the next version of the EN 301-549 is finalized as the harmonized standard for the European Accessibility Act. You can stay informed on updates on the VPAT, WCAG, and EN 301549 by using the respective links that are available in the presentation deck. We have a number of resources available with links. You can download this presentation from ITI's VPAT training webpage at www.itic.org/policy/accessibility/VPAT-training. The resource links can be found on the second last slide of the deck. And we want to give big thanks to the companies that have contributed to this presentation, including IBM, Google, Adobe, Microsoft, Intel, and HP.